Okay, so I'm here with Cody Calahan, the director of The Oak Room. Cody, thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate that. Um, how the hell did you get involved with The Oak Room,
So, kind of a funny story. So, Ari Millen, who plays Michael in
man?
the film, he was actually in the stage play. So, The Oak Room was a stage play
Yeah,
back in 2013, and he was in it. And he sent me the um, the script for it years ago, and was sort of pushed it on me because he thought it would be a great adaptation. And I didn't read it for a long time. And I remember I was getting on a flight to go to LA, and he called me and he's like, just read it on the plane. And if you don't like it when you land, we'll never. I will I'll stop bugging you or whatever. And I remember I landed and I called him like immediately, even before I got my bags, and I was like, I love this, and we got to adapt this. So the three of us got on a call with Peter Genoway, who wrote the stage play and also
yeah.
wrote the script, and we started adapting it. And over about a year, we sort of brought it to what it is. And then as soon as Breakthrough Entertainment, the studio that's behind it, as soon as they read it, it was like, this is amazing. When can you guys start? So it was a really great experience. And then yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
Uh-huh. So did you go see the play?
You know what? I never saw the play. I wasn't in Toronto when it played at the Fringe Festival, but Ari was in it, and he kept telling me about it.
So
And
you didn't
so
jump on a plane and go and support your buddy's film?
I know,
God
hey,
damn
but
it,
but I
Cody.
made the movie and I put him in it. I did something right. The mistakes we make, right?
Yeah, it's a funny one that sometimes you can easily miss out on things, right? When someone's like, "Oh, come do this or go see that," and you're like, "I don't know."
Well,
Uh,
when he sent me the stage play, I was like, I like adapting a stage play. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's not really what I was looking to do. But as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, I get it. It just jumped off the page, and I could see it right away. And I was like, you're right. This would make a great movie. Thank God I read it.
now, it ah, what's the difference between like a stage script and a film script? Like, what was it that you saw in when you read the script as the stage play, right? Was there things of it be like, well, that would work. I'd need to change that. Like that wouldn't transfer, that wouldn't cross over. We'll have to adapt that bit. But I see where this is going, kind of thing. Right? What's the process?
Yeah. So obviously, because it's on a stage, it's all dialogue based.
Yeah.
So everything can translate to a film. It's just what you should and shouldn't do. Like what is too much that you need an audience there to be able to have that feeling for the actors, and what can we do with a look rather than dialogue. But again, the way the movie's written, it's so much an exposition, that what we liked about it is that they are telling these stories, and that it is a lot of tell don't show, which is sort of the opposite, which we really liked. So we didn't change a whole lot. There's just a lot of scenes that ran on longer or had stage direction that we wanted to change, because for certain things, like there's no car approaching the bar in the play, because obviously that wouldn't translate.
Hmm.
And little things like that. And then obviously all of the stories in the play, you hear them but you never see them.
Yeah.
So it was one of the decisions was what I wanted to show all of the stories except for one. And then yeah, and Nicholas Campbell as Steve's father, that whole scene, that flashback wasn't in the play, but felt like we needed to see him in the movie, um, because it's sort of the heartbeat of the
Hmm.
film.
Yeah. Yeah. So you added that scene, but you left out a story. What was the kind of thought of that story doesn't need to be in it, and I'm going to put something else in to kind of bring it together?
So it's funny, it's not that the story itself wasn't in there, it's just the choice to visually show what he's talking about, and
Right.
it's the fishing story,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So there was an instinct not to show that. I hopefully not giving too many things away, but the reason we didn't want to show it is because, and I guess this is going to give something away, but hopefully whatever. Um, we didn't want to show the fishing story because it is it isn't real. So
Hmm.
by showing it, it felt like we were breaking the rules that we were creating.
Right. I got you. I mean, yeah, I don't think that gives too much away.
No, no, no. I
Because
don't
I
think
think
it
when
is.
you hear the story, you're a bit like, okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So funny because it's like I do these interviews and I'll get into it and I'll say something and then the PR team will email after and go, "You just gave away the ending." It's like, oh shit. So I'm always weary of what I'm saying. I have to check myself, but yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Because I
Mhm.
think this is a slow burn, right? This it kind of felt like The Wire to me.
Oh,
You know what I
cool.
mean? Because I remember hearing about The Wire, and it was like, The Wire's so good, The Wire's so good. You need to see The Wire. And so when I finally went and got it, I remember I went down to my local library, I hired out season one, I put it in. And I'm watching the first few episodes and I'm thinking, it's well directed, it's put together well, you know, it's solid. I don't know what everyone's talking about.
Right.
And then you're at a point where you're like, okay, but you can't do that. What are you doing? Don't do that. McNally, you asshole. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, where did I suddenly care and love this shit? Is it like
Now
it
I'm
just
in.
comes, just grabs you all of a sudden? It's like weird. And I think this, like, don't get me wrong, you don't watch it and thinking, ugh, this is so rubbish. But you're just like, I'm enjoying it, but
And
it's
then it grabs
like
you.
it's a slow build. So it's like
Mhm.
and then suddenly it's like boom, and you're like, oh, and yeah, you're kind of grabbed, and it's like yeah, it's weird the way it does that. Like, what was the fault of telling this? Because I think you must imagine that there's a lot of stuff that happens at the start where we don't know a lot of information. It's all like little dribs and drabs. So you want to give people enough, but not too much. So what was your thought of, directing it and thinking, oh, will people gravitate to this? Am I gonna hook them from the giddy up kind of thing?
Well, it was interesting because it's sort of all these little vignettes,
Mm,
and they get broken up by other tiny little stories or bigger stories. So we sort of approached each vignette like a short film. Like, what would it feel like if it sat on its own, and how long? And we would kind of play with how long can we have an audience just watch these two guys talk before we need to drop a piece of information that's like, okay, now I have to keep watching. Now what's that piece of information that pushes me to the next vignette? And we had to make
yeah.
sure that each vignette set you up for the next one, because I knew, at a certain point, if you've got the audience, great, but I knew if we could get them to, the second flashback at the Oak Room, that's when we're going to nab everybody. And then after that, it's just a descent. So
Mm,
it was building to that moment, because I knew once that moment happened, hopefully it would have the shock that I hoped it would. And then from there, you're just sort of you're on the other side of the roller coaster, right? So you give, as long as the audience will go up with you, they're definitely going to go down.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you've got these stories and you understand that it's this slow burn, this very narrative driven kind of tale. So you need the right people in these roles, to
Hmm.
bring it to life, to captivate, to sell these scenes, because the location wise, we're not dealing with a lot here. So what was the thought in casting? Did you instantly go, okay, well, I feel that this person would be great for that? Or yeah, was it just like, well, I don't know, let's just see? And you sat down, spoke to people, and you're like, oh, they will work.
So, and it's cool because this never normal usually happens, but everybody on our list, our number ones, all said that they wanted to do it. So a lot of the Canadian casting, I mean, everybody but RJ Mitty, those were all people that either had friends that worked with, or I had personally worked with, and um, or they were people that I really really wanted to work with. So I met with everybody, and I kind of pitched the idea of what we were doing, and I explained how I wanted to shoot it, which was unconventional because we were shooting um, two cameras, but we were doing like 15-page takes so that the actors could fall into the world and stop thinking about the cameras and the lights and the cuts. And I didn't want
Right.
to have to say cut every 30 seconds. I really
Yeah.
wanted to let them get into it, which made for long takes and then big discussions about the take and then another long take. So it was really cool that way. But all the cast, I was pretty confident when we went to them because they were number ones on our list, and I'd either heard great things or seen them in stuff that I really loved, and sort of pairing everybody together, I knew that they could handle it. And I think RJ Mitty is he is such an incredible actor. He really brought a lot to the table, and him and Peter Outerbridge together were just amazing. It makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, I guess a long take helps build that atmosphere, because it is kind of all that tension in all of those scenes, because you're waiting for this big thing to go down. Like every moment is just like, what are they gonna do? Like, right, okay, so it's a story, but I don't know. I have a weird feeling about that dude. What's gonna happen here? And you're waiting for that thing. And it's weird because the moment a thing happens, you've kind of lulled us into this full sense of security, you asshole. You know what I mean? We're just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's stories. Okay, all right, stories. And then suddenly it's like, oh, what? What? What just happened there? God damn it.
Right.
But is that an approach that you've used before? Or is it something that you just thought, oh, this might work for this film, so you might then take it, to your next project?
So, so yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like everything I do, I try something different, which can have its its good and bad sometimes
Okay.
here and there. But I think I have a anxiety of doing the same thing twice.
Right.
So
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this one, I tried a lot of things that I had never done before. To success, a lot of them. Obviously, there was some stuff that didn't work that we don't need to talk about. But but yeah, some of the longer takes and really sort of letting the actors get into it before cutting and moving cameras and stuff. I really enjoyed that, and all the actors really enjoyed that. So the film that I did after the Oak Room, there was a few scenes I brought the longer take um, theory to or whatever, and it worked again. It worked so amazing, and it was almost scary for the actors at first and scary for myself, but it's almost that appreciation of, oh, thank you for letting me get into it before you say cut. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so it
yeah.
was great.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And what kind of like with the film, right? When you kind of put it together, like what was there a lot of edits that you had to make and shifting things around, or was it this natural thing that just kind of fit? especially because it's been a play and Peter adapted his own play. So I guess that must be helpful in the process.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because you could the play was its own thing, and it did really well, and it won all these awards. Um, but you can almost look at that as like an audience screening for the movie.
Mm,
What felt good and what worked, and what do you wish you could do differently? Um, you know, for Ari Millen playing Michael, or for Peter Genoway who wrote it. Like, what do you wish you could have put in after you did it? So it sort of went through all of those iterations, and he had been thinking about it for 2 or 3 years because I think the play was in 2013. So he had time to really to think about it, and we took a good year working on it quite heavily for a full year to adapt it. So when we went to shoot it, I knew that we weren't going to move anything around. We did cut a lot of stuff, obviously. In watching it, it's like, okay, we're this story's taking too long. We need to cut it down, or as I was saying before, within a vignette, we're too long before that piece of information that the audience needs to keep watching. So
yeah.
let's shorten that. But there was nothing moved around. We stuck to how the script was written because when we went to shoot, we really knew exactly what we wanted.
Okay. One thing it really caught me was the very opening of the film, because we open up with this weird angle on the bottle, right? It's this weird angle, and then we kind of spin and zoom because you don't know what the hell it is, right? You just see this kind of light, and then it zooms, and then it kind of coalesces on a bottle, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting way of approaching that shot, of getting into a bar. But then you just stop, right? Then you stop, and then we got the credit, kind of opening credits. Like, what was the thought of that? Because it's kind of like, boom, you grab people with just that inventive shot, but then you stop for a moment, and then we get into it.
So we call it like the cold open or whatever. And so we knew, like I knew from the get-go, this opening scene with the sort of this fight that happens, it needed to tell a lot about it needed to give hints to who's who,
Mm,
in that moment, but it also needed to allude to the audience of what they're going to watch, so that when these two characters start talking to each other, the audience is like, well, you got me from that moment, so they'll give me the benefit of the doubt that, okay, you're promising me something, so I want to see where that's going to come to fruition. But yeah, as far as like the shot, when I was talking to Jeff Mahar, who's the director of photography, we had discussed, we wanted, because the story isn't, not nothing is what it seems, and it's about goosing the truth and what's real and what's a lie, that we wanted a shot that sort of changed on itself. And we had discussed all of these ideas about being inside the bottle in VFX, and then coming up out of the bottle like a very, David Fincher from Fight Club shot. And we discussed all of these ideas, with a VFX team, but then felt that adding all this VFX at the very opening didn't stay true to the nature of the movie.
mm.
So it needed to be a mechanical, physical movement. And I think at that point I was like, well, what if the world starts upside down and we sort of write ourselves into the story so that it suggests to the audience that this is, you're not, what you're seeing may not be true. And then, ending on the beer bottle was important because of the significance of that beer bottle getting set down all of those times throughout the rest of the movie. And then obviously keeping the fight dark so that nobody can actually say who's who in that moment, even though that there's a lot of great fan theories out there. So it was a lot. And again, we knew we didn't want the opening to feel too contrived with all these different angles.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, there was this idea that's like a close up of a fist hitting a cheek and a close up of a foot hitting a chest and a beer bottle breaking, but it just felt too much for what the movie was. So it had to be simple, concise, but say a lot. And then we decided, well, let's do it in a one take.
No, I did love that shot. It was very compelling.
Thanks,
Yes.
you.
Um, listen, unfortunately, I know we don't have much time. So how can people keep track of, what you're doing?
So probably the best place is on Instagram. So Black Fawn Films is a company that I own with Chad Archibald, who's another writer, producer, director. Um, so we always try to keep that up to date. And Chris Ben, who runs our Instagram, is awesome with keeping information on there. I mean, sometimes I tune into our own Instagram to find out what news is out there, or what reviews have gone, and so he's amazing. So yeah, feel free to, and also feel free to direct message Chris for any questions and stuff like that. But he's great. He'll keep you informed, and yeah, that's the best way to see what we're doing. And we've got some exciting stuff in the works. We got a new film that's probably going to shoot at the end of this year. That's really wild and very different. So that'll
Ah,
be cool.
ah. Okay, that's great. And will you come back and talk about this new film? Maybe we get a bit more time on that one.
100%. I'd love to come
Out,
back.
outstanding. Well, thank you very much for your time, Cody. I really appreciate that. And yeah, it was a real interesting, compelling film that does catch you. So I love that. I love the fact that it gives you something a little that you weren't expecting, just throws you through that loop. And greasing the goose, goosing the goose. God
Goosing
damn
the
it,
truth.
goosing the truth. I swear this. I know the expression, like the sentiment of the expression, but there's another. I think we've said it a different way, but for the life of me, I can't think of what that way
Well,
was. But
the funny thing about that is, when I read it, I was like, "Oh, I've heard that term before." And then, but I don't. It's not a Canadian thing.
okay.
So I had heard that term before, and then I went and Googled it, and I couldn't find it. And talking with the writer, I don't even know if I got a truthful answer to where that came from. I'm under the understanding that he just made that up, but I don't know if he got it from somewhere else. I don't know if he just won't tell me. Like, the funny thing with the Oak Room is there's a lot of conversations that the creatives behind it, from the talent to myself to the producers to Peter Genoway, who wrote it. There's a lot of beliefs that we have about what happens in the film
Mm.
that aren't necessarily the same. So there's a lot of secrets that I have that the producers will be like, yeah, okay, but tell me what this actually is, what that actually meant, and I won't say it. And I find that there's a great thing about this movie is everybody's got their own interpretation, but I'm pretty sure Peter Genoway, he wouldn't tell me where he got that from. So if you do find out, I would love to know.
Okay. I will. Yeah, I will let you know. I will let you
Please
know.
do.
But yeah, no. Thank you for your time, man. And yeah, I'm gonna hit you up in a little while. Maybe we can have another conversation a little bit
Love to, man.
longer.
For
All
sure,
right,
man.
man.
I'm
Well,
around, man. I'm
cool. Good luck with the film. Good luck with the film. I hope it is a big success because yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
great, man. Thank you for saying that.
All right, no worries, man. You take care, yeah?
Okay, take it easy.
All right. Thank you. Bye.